concerned about the trouble and trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
Plaguing our country.
There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no Russians. There are no Arabs. There are no third worlds. There is no West. There is only one holistic system of systems. One vast and immane, interwoven, interacting, multivariate, multinational dominion of dollars. Petrodollars, electrodollars, multi-dollars, Reichmarks, Rins, rubles, pounds, and shekels. It is the international system of currency which determines the totality of life on this planet. There is no America. There is no democracy. There is only IBM and ITT and AT&T and DuPont, Dow, Union Carbide, and Exxon. Those are the nations of the world today.
And false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 This is extremely
dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. Dangerous.
extremely dangerous to our democracy.
extremely
Dangerous to our democracy.
What if all isn't as it seems? What if the reality you found was false? A carefully constructed narrative by unseen special interests designed to manipulate your opinion.
Partisan tilt has many free speech advocates alarmed because not only does Sinclair own such a large chunk of the marketplace already, but it's hoping to get bigger still. If a proposed $4 billion merger with Tribune Media goes forward, Sinclair would now reach 3 out of 4 American households. They got their news from local TV stations. And it's information they trust. 41% of registered voters said they trust local news to tell the truth, while just 27% trust national news. Sinclair disputes having any kind of a political bent. Its executives declined to talk with us on camera for this report. But the record shows that the Maryland-based company has used its ownership of stations to push partisan conservative viewpoints for years. For example, after the 9/11 attacks, Sinclair required anchors and reporters to read messages supporting President George Bush's efforts against terrorism.
The names and the faces of the fallen tell their own story.
In 2004, when ABC News Nightline devoted an entire show to reading the names of U.S. service members who had died in Iraq,
Kendall Waters Bay, Thorell Childers.
Sinclair, which owned 7 ABC affiliates at the time, barred those stations from showing the broadcast. Later that year, in the midst of the presidential campaign between John Kerry and President George Bush, Sinclair mandated all its stations run a special that included clips from a distinctly one-sided documentary that questioned John Kerry's Vietnam War service.
I was outraged, and still am, that he willingly said things which were untrue.
And more recently, Sinclair had its stations run this segment, which called the national media purveyors of fake news.
Unfortunately, some members of the national media are using their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think.
If the opinions were confined just to the commentary.
Sinclair even caught the eye of HBO's John Oliver, who poked fun at how Sinclair sometimes forces conservative talking points into the scripts that their local news anchors read.
Did the FBI have a personal vendetta in pursuing the Russia investigation of President Trump's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn?
Did the FBI have a
Personal vendetta in pursuing the Russia investigation of
President Trump's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn?
This blurring of news and opinion is one criticism of the company. The blurring of news and advertising is another.
Hey, it's too hard to get a fish sandwich.
There are numerous examples of Sinclair stations running what are largely paid promotions masquerading as news pieces.
More and more patients at Huntsman Cancer Institute are recording their life stories.
Like in this case, where Sinclair stations across the country ran these segments about the Huntsman Cancer Institute. They looked like news spots, but were in fact funded by the Cancer Center, something viewers were not told. The FCC is still investigating that case. Sinclair's bid to buy Tribune Media, and thus expand its reach dramatically in the local news market, has drawn plenty of criticism. Sinclair says critics have it wrong. They say it's about economics. Quote, "The proposed merger will advance the public interest by helping to shore up an industry buffeted by well-known economic challenges." Traditionally, to protect against any one company becoming too dominant, Congress has set certain caps on how many media outlets one corporation can own in a given market. But the FCC recently changed those rules. Under the new leadership of Trump appointee Ajit Pai, the FCC has now made it easier to approve Sinclair's expansion.
All of those in favor?
Tom Wheeler is the former chair of the FCC. He thinks these new changes are a blow to a free and vibrant press.
The Trump FCC has, in one very short period, moved to change 3 basic rules that have been in place to protect the diversity of voices and avoid monopolization of the broadcast television market. We have a society in which the flow of information is crucial to a democracy. And when that free flow of information gets choked off by corporate consolidation, we ought to all worry.